Yeah, so text 12 it said, see what it says. Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vriddha pitamaha simanadam vinodaya jay shankam dadama praptaptavan. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. So why is Duryodhana being happy? Because his best fighter is roaring his conch. Yep. Purport: the grandsire of the Kuru dynasty could understand the inner meaning of the heart of his grandson Duryodhana, and out of his natural compassion for him, he tried to cheer him by blowing his conch shell very loudly, befitting his position as a lion. Indirectly, by the symbolism of the conch shell, he informed his depressed grandson Duryodhana that he had no chance of victory in the battle because the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the other side. But still, it was his duty to conduct the fight, and no pains would be spared in that connection. Yeah. So Prabhupada is even saying that Duryodhana was depressed. So since Duryodhana here is playing the role of the demon, it's said, in the Shastra that demons they try and be happy by sense stimuli, and because of that they're actually not happy, even though you can say their senses are enjoying nice food and nice, social dealing and nice this, nice that. But because they're not, making the Lord in the heart happy, they're actually not enjoying life. So the example is given of Ravana. If you remember from the story of Ramayana, Ravana was a great king, demon, ruling the whole world. And he had all the enjoyment. He had a whole harem of women. He had the greatest kingdom on the planet made of gold called Lanka. Uh, Still, he had to steal Sita, the wife of Lord Ram. He was never satisfied, actually, because he was after the illusory happiness. That's the explanation. On the other hand, the devotee, he may have nothing. Actually, that's often the case. The Lord makes the devotee a pauper, material loser. So in that way, the devotee is, you can say, materially depressed. But if he gets, darshan of Krishna or Vishnu, then he becomes actually spiritually happy. So his material depression will go away. So in the same way here, Duryodhana is materially depressed. But after some time, Krishna will show him his power, and Duryodhana will be cheered up. Oh, sorry, Duryodhana. Arjuna will be cheered up, and Duryodhana will be the opposite. Yeah. Uh, yeah. When the devotees are cheered up and having success, the demons become, unhappy. That's the situation. Okay, so let's see the next verse. Tatar Shankar Chaberiyachcha Bhanavaka Guru Umukha Sasaiva Abhyanyanta Sashabda Tumula Bhavat. After that, the conches, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Yeah, next verse says, on the other side, both Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on a great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conches. So it's also mentioned the horses are white. So whiteness is a auspicious sign, according to uh, part of Shastra is explaining, the good signs and the bad signs. You see, person dressed in white, cow, white horse. These are all auspicious symptoms. Yeah. So Prabhupada explains, in contrast with the conch shell blown by Bhishma there, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. Sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicated that there was no hope of victory for the other side because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Yeah, let's take a break there so we're able to digest this. Um, yeah, so what can we read from this? The other side, who is the other side? Kauravas. Yeah, let's just write that. Other side, Kauravas. No. Headed by Duryodhana. Yeah. So why not happy? Yeah. Why no hope for them? Because no transcendental conscience. Yeah. That means, so what does that mean? No, no godly power. Yeah, no godly, support. Yeah, that's what it means, right? You can find the concha in the shop. I mean, in India, they're selling everywhere. Now, what can make this concha transcendental? It's a material object. The idea is if it's blessed by a devotee, is used in the service of the Lord, like concha is supposed to be used. In the deity worship, for example, you have the concha is also on the hand of Vishnu. So let's take the example, conch is in the hand of Vishnu. Yeah, it has the power to give, skills. Yeah. An example is when Vishnu touched the head of Dhruva. Yeah, Bhakta Dhruva. Yeah, the boy of 7 years old. He was doing a tapasya, and then he got the darshan of Vishnu, and he didn't know what to say. He was just 7 years old. So what did Vishnu do? He touched his head with the conch. And then Dhruva, he could say most wonderful prayers in Sanskrit, in rhyme, with, all kinds, great, glorifications of Vishnu. So the explanation there is given that he got all his intelligence and skills simply by the touch of that conch. Yeah. Touch the head of Bhakta Dhruva, sorry, I didn't add the most important here, with his conch. Yeah. So conches are, conch in the right hand. So I don't mean right as in right and left. A conch in the right hand is very powerful. So you have a conch in the hand of Krishna and Arjuna. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara Yatra Shrir Viryo Bhutir Dhruvanitir Atirmama. Yeah, that's the end, verse in the Bhagavad-Gita. Wherever there is Krishna, wherever Arjuna is, there will be the victory. Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna Yatra Partha. Yeah. So Partha is, Arjuna. So there, Tatra Shri, Tatra Shri Vijaya. So, okay, just write it like this. There will be, opulence and victory. Yeah, so let's read on. Guys to Pandu Putranam Yesham Paksha Janardana. Yeah, so the sons of Pandu, are on the side of Janardana. I know the name of Janardana. Yeah. So the statement here by Srila Prabhupada is referring to the verse. So Jaya's victory. Victory. Sons of Pandu on the side of Krishna. Victory because the sons of Pandu. Victory to them because the sons of Pandu are on the side of Krishna. Yes, that's a statement of the Bhagavatam. I'm sorry, of the Bhagavad-Gita. It's also there in the Bhagavatam also. It's also similarly stating there. Bhagavatam has a reference to Bhagavad-Gita. In the first or second canto, where Arjuna is coming home, and that's after Krishna has left the world actually. Then he's recalling actually being instructed by Krishna there and getting his power to fight because of having Krishna as his friend. Yeah, not only as his cooperative person, not just because he was working with Krishna. Krishna was running the chariot, steering the horses of Arjuna's chariot. Chariot was with two people. Arjuna was there shooting the arrows, and Krishna was steering the chariot. So they were cooperating. Actually, Arjuna was commanding Krishna what to do. Go to the left, go to the right. Krishna just followed what Arjuna was commanding. Yeah. Although of course Krishna is higher than Arjuna. Krishna is Bhagavan Swayam. Arjuna is his servant, but his friend, because he has this close relationship with Krishna. Uh, he was always protected by Krishna. Yeah. So, and what is said here, victory is always with persons like the sons of Panda because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And then whenever and wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without her husband. So even though you cannot see her, maybe she will be there in the life of sincere devotee, a progressive devotee, or a devotee who wants to do the good thing for Krishna. He may be purified by Krishna. That's there. He may go through, heavy, ordeals. That's okay. Arjuna also did. He had to fight in the war. He had to be humiliated many times. So that's okay. But he stuck to Krishna, and Krishna stuck to him. So in that way, eventually, Arjuna emerged victorious. So Prabhupada says, therefore, victory and fortune are awaiting Arjuna, as indicated by the transcendental sound produced by the conch shell of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Besides that, the chariot on which both the friends were seated had been donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna, and this indicated that this chariot was capable of conquering all sides wherever it was drawn over the three worlds. Om Jnanatimramdasya Gnanjana Shalaka Shakshurun Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vandaham Shri Guru Shri Utpadakamam Shri Guru Vaishnavishcha Shri Rupam Sadrajatam Sagana Vaitam Swarupa Krishna Chaitanya Shri Radha Krishna Pala Sadhana Lalita Shri Shokam Vitam Nischa Vanchakalpadruvyaschan Kripasinvayachan Titanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavind Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We'll read text 15. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatta, and Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Poundra. Yeah, so each of the conches, lo and behold, they have names. Isn't that wonderful? They have names. So why on earth does the conches have names? Any ideas? Yes, they're persons. Uh, and they are, real valuable conches. Like really, if a conchal is a person, it must be quite, good, valuable. Yeah. This is the thing with the spiritual pastimes. Even the conches are alive in persons. What to speak of the persons themselves? They're maximum, alive and conscious. Yeah. So Lord Krishna is referred to as Rishikesha in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. Living entities are part and partial of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and partial of his senses. Can we digest this? What did we just read? Rishikesha. So what does it mean? Every sentence of Prabhupada needs to be unpacked and digested because it's a lot of meaning usually. We can't really grasp what he's saying if you just rush through. So Rishika, yeah. So I'll write it. I don't have the acritic marks here. Rishika, Isha. Yeah. Senses, control. That's how we have this. Yeah. So so it means the actual controller of the senses. Yeah. That's the meaning of Rishikesha. Yeah. You can say I'm also sense controller of my senses, but he is the actual because Isha, the Isha word is used for for God or gods. Yeah. So in that way it's higher because we are not God or gods. So it can only be used, for actually it's used for Krishna only. Okay, so he's the owner. Yeah. Hmm. So how come he's the owner? Because somebody who creates something, is he necessarily the owner? No. You can have a person who creates a painting, right? He paints the painting. So he painted it, so he's the owner. Does it make sense? Not always, because he can be commissioned to paint it. So say, for example, the commune has commissioned him to make, a painting on the wall. Yeah, mural. The commune is giving him the paint, right? The commune is giving him the vessel by which to paint, or whatever else, method he will use. And they will pay him hourly for the work. And after work is done, the painter has to go. And to the commune will say, this is now our art. The wall is ours. The paint was, purchased by us. We paid you every hour for doing the work. So now you may just go and now we will enjoy your painting and we can do whatever we want with that painting. We can sell it. We can, take pictures of it, spread. We can even, erase the painting because we already paid you. You don't own the painting anymore. Isn't that correct? So it's not always that, something we make is ours. However, the Lord, He made our bodies with senses and he's still saying that is his. How can he do that? Because he's God. That's the only explanation. Otherwise, you can say the same thing. Mother and father is giving birth to the child, but they have ownership of the child. You can say for some time when it's small. After some time, they have to give away. The child is growing up, can do whatever it wants. You can say independent of the parents. They don't have control. The grown-up adults. In usual cases, they will not have that. So in that case, with the Lord also, there is a great difference with the ordinary living entity and the Lord. The Lord claims ownership of us. However, He's also giving us, very minute independence. It's not really the independence we think about when we say the word independent, because He is, after all, controlling very much whatever is happening in our life. And we may think this is bad, but actually, since He is the absolute, then everything that comes from Him is actually good. Uh, so it's different from, you can say, the normal worldly experience of somebody who is controlling your life. Another, jiva, another person. It doesn't feel good, right? And also, if one is controlled by one of the demigods, maybe one has a bad, astrological period. Somebody is saying, if Shani is very strong, the Saturn has very great control over one's life in the period, that part of the life will be heavy, and one will feel downtrodden because of being controlled very much by Saturn in a specific period. However, there's no such feeling for a devotee because the devotee is controlled by Krishna or by Vishnu, and in that way the devotee will be happy no matter what astrological period we are in. And that's because the devotee feels great being controlled by Krishna, because it's a sweet, loving relationship. That is the idea. And so we go on with the purport. The impersonalists, they cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. What does Prabhupada mean here? They cannot account for the senses. I guess Prabhupada means that it's just too much for the impersonalists. That's what Prabhupada means to say here. Uh, to have senses is a problem. Yeah, I'll write that here. For the impersonalists. To have senses is a problem. Yeah, better get rid of them and merge with the absolute Brahman to get full peace. Yeah, that's what I'm reading out of this statement. So if you have any other idea, please chip in. We can have a discussion, but this is what I can get out of this statement. Okay, so I'll go on. The Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, directs their senses, but He directs in terms of the surrender of a living entity. And in the case of a pure devotee, He directly controls the senses. In the case of a pure devotee, He directly controls the senses. Yeah. So that means it sounds like the pure devotee, the Shuddha Bhakta, is on autopilot. Yeah. Uh, so here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna. And thus his particular name of Rishikesha. The Lord has different names according to his different activities. For example, his name is Madhusudana because he killed the demon of the name Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to cows and to the senses. His name is Vasudeva because he appeared as the son of Vasudeva. His name is Devakinandana because he accepted Devaki as his mother. His name is Yashodanandana because he awarded his childhood pastime to Yashoda at Vrindavan. His name is Parthasarathi because he worked as a charioteer with his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Rishikesha because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Okay, so that may be actually one of the questions in the exam. Some different names of Krishna and the explanation of what they mean. So I'll highlight this, put it like this. Different names of Krishna are always worth meditating on. One will remember different features of Krishna by mentioning his different names. Yeah. Now Arjuna also has different names. Already in Bhagavad-Gita, we know he's called Kaunteya, son of Kunti. Partha, wasn't that what he was just called? Son of Priti. Priti is another name of Kunti, and so on and so forth. Dhananjana is not the name of Arjuna, which means it says here is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse because he helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditures for different sacrifices. Yeah. Similarly, Bhima is known as Vrikodara because he could eat as voraciously as he could perform Herculean tasks, such as killing the demon Hidimba. Yeah. Okay, so let's look at this. Dhananjaya. Dhana means wealth. Jaya means to win. So he won wealth. Yeah. And Vrikodara, Vrika Udara. Vrika means wolf, and Udara means belly. We talked about this yesterday, also wolf belly. That's another name of because he was very fond of eating. Didn't we talk about that yesterday? I think he could eat, for 5 people. He was eating as much as the 4 Pandavas and Draupadi together. So that way, whenever there was food, they divided into 2 parts. One part to Bhima and another part to the 4 Pandavas and Draupadi. But then also he was twice as big in his body as all the others. So sometimes when they were tired when they were exiled in the forest, he would just carry all of them. Yeah. So in that way, he was eating a lot, and he was also performing Herculean tasks. That means great heroic activities which nobody can copy. Yeah. So here, so to the particular types of conch shell blown by different personalities. So now we will read the last paragraph. So the particular types of conch shell blown by the different personalities on the side of the Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there were no such credits, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, Supreme Director, nor that of the goddess of fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle. Yeah, as we already mentioned, they didn't have, Divya, Shankar, they didn't have, divine conch shells. Uh, Krishna wasn't there, and so, the Lakshmi Devi was also not there. So they were predestined to lose the battle, and that was the message announced by the sounds of the conch shells. You ready for a couple of verses more? Okay. So now, let's see. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, Ananta Vijaya. Nakula and Sadev blew the Sukosha and Manipushpaka. The great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikhandi, Drishtadyumna, Virata, the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupala, the sons of Draupadi, and others, O kings, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells. I think a few of these have already been mentioned in the previous verses. So who is this son of Subhadra? That's Abhimanyu, which Arjuna got with Subhadra. And Arjuna also had a son with Draupadi. Draupadi had one son with each of the Pandavas. She had a son with Yudhishthira, a son with Nakula and Sadeva, and also Bhima. Mm. Yes, so purport Sanjaya informed King Dhritarashtra very tactfully that his unwise policy of deceiving the sons of Pandu and endeavoring to enthrone his own sons on the seat of the kingdom was not very laudable. The signs already clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed in that great battle. Yeah. So did you get that? Dhritarashtra, he um, he tried to put his own sons, his 100 sons, on the seat of the kingdom, headed by Duryodhana. Sorry. And Sanjaya is telling King Dhritarashtra that this is not very wise. He's not telling him directly here, but indirectly by telling how all these great fighters are bleeding their conscience, which Prabhupada explained in the previous purport. It is a sign of victory for the Pandavas and a sign of defeat for the Kauravas, simply because it seems so divine and impressive, all this blowing of the conscience on the Pandavas party. It was very clear that, it said later on that it shattered, the hearts. Yeah, actually, that's what the next verse saying. Yeah. So, beginning with the grandsire Bhishma down to grandsons like Abhimanyu and others, including kings from many states of the world, all were present there and all were doomed. Uh, the whole catastrophe was due to King Dhritarashtra because he encouraged the policy followed by his sons. Now here is Prabhupada is letting us know that actually Bhishma and even Abhimanyu, who was on the good side, you can say, would be killed in that battle. So that way it was a catastrophe also for the Pandavas. War is never good for nobody. That's also one of the messages of the Mahabharata itself. It said that the policy of having a war is called danda, and that's the last resort in policy, in diplomacy. Danda means punishment, and it's better to just talk, negotiate. That's called sama, or give gifts. Even bribery is better than war. That's called dana. Or there is the divide and conquer tactics, which are dirty, tricks, but that's also better than pure violence. So in that way, the Pandavas try to really avoid this war by any means. But in the end, it was unavoidable, and Danda had to be activated for settling the matter. So that's why we have, this meeting on the battlefield of the Kurukshetra. Yeah. So the next verse: the blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. When Bhima and so Prabhupada says, when when Bhishma, sorry, and the others, that Bhishma and Bhima are two different people. Bhima is one of the 5 Pandavas, and Bhishma is the great brahmachari son of King Shantanu, who refused to marry just so that his father could be happily married to Satyavati after his previous wife left him. Like, that's a whole great story. The Bhishma, he got very powerful because he got blessed by his father that he wouldn't die unless he himself chose to die. So he was, undefeatable in the war. But still, as Prabhupada says here, when Bhishma and the others on the side of Duryodhana blew their respective conch shells, there was no heart breaking on the part of the Pandavas. Even though Bhishma was, you can say, the greatest fighter and was definitely, very capable of conquering anybody, still the Pandavas were not afraid. They were still, keeping their, healthy spirits because of Krishna being on their side. So in the same way, devotees of Krishna, no matter what happens to them, they will keep their healthy spirits because of having Krishna on their side. Yeah. So Prabhupada says that such occurrences of heartbreaking, yeah, are not mentioned, but in this particular verse it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. Yes, so such occurrences of heartbreaking at the Pandavas' camp is not mentioned. Yeah. So this is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. So they're called Abhaya, fearless, which was also, one of the. Actually, it is the name of Srila Prabhupada, birth name, Abhaya. Yeah, in the next verse, at that time, Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjuna then spoke to Lord Krishna these words. Yeah, Prabhupada says in the purport, the battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Rama in the battle between Rama and Ravana. Okay, let's take a look at that story. Uh, yeah, and Lord Rama emerged victorious. Now both Rama and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Krishna is Rama himself. Wherever Lord Rama is, his eternal servitor Hanuman and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Okay. What was the previous sentence here in the purport? It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. So seemingly it was a great arrangement done on the side of the Pandavas. Their military array must have looked very impressive. Some or other, Duryodhana, he didn't really expect that. Uh, we can understand Prabhupada saying here. And they were extremely good-spirited, although they're much less, people than the Kauravas. As I already said yesterday, Duryodhana he got the choice, choosing between, actually Arjuna was there and Duryodhana was there, and the one who Krishna saw first, they came to meet Krishna in the morning, and Krishna had promised the one I see first, I will give my first offer, and the second person will get my second offer. So Arjuna said, when Krishna asked, what do you want from me? And Arjuna said, I just want you to be on my side in the battle. And then Duryodhana, he said, I would like to have your army, because Krishna had a personal army, a Shashvata army, over 1 million soldiers. So he got a huge amount of people on his side. So in that way, the army of the Kauravas was far, exceeding in number the army of the Pandavas. So I guess Duryodhana would have expected them to be a little bit more, disheartened, seeing, that his army was much bigger, but they weren't disheartened at all. They were with extremely good spirits, and that's symbolized by, the blowing in the conch shells very, violently. And in that way, Duryodhana, he became completely baffled, actually, because he didn't really expect that they would emerge so powerful and so, enthusiastic after they had seen, that his army was much bigger, but they were. So here Prabhupada is talking about the emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna. Kapidvarja is a Sanskrit there. So Dvaja means a flag, and Kapi, I guess, is another name of Hanuman. So, how did he get that flag? So, there is a story that when they were in the exile in the forest, in the mountain, like that, Bhima, he went out to get something, I don't remember, something to eat or somewhere or other he was out there. And he met Hanuman, actually, to make a long story short. He, he became friends with Hanuman, and Hanuman, he promised he would support the Pandavas in the battle by entering their flag on the chariot. So everybody in the battle in the you know Mahabharata times, the great Kshatras, they had flag on their chariot. Flag is a big thing. Yeah. So in that way, they have their protector, God, on the flag. So Hanuman, he agreed to enter. I mean, he offered. He said, "I will enter the flag of your chariot." So Arjuna had, Hanuman enter. So actually, Hanuman he actually personally entered the flag. So sometimes in the Mahabharata, it said that Hanuman is roaring from the flag. Yes, exactly. He's making a roar from the flag. Okay, he has entered the flag, and that roar is also shattering the hearts of the Kauravas. It's explained. Yeah, so pretty fearful and pretty protective then of the Pandavas army is Hanuman. Yeah, and here it's also said that it's a symbol of victory, because when Hanuman cooperated with Lord Ram in the Ramayana story, then Lord Ram, he emerged victorious. And Prabhupada says no, both Rama and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. So Lord Krishna is Rama himself. Ramadi Murtishu Kalani Amena Tishtam Anavatar Makarod Vivaneshu Kind. So Krishna personally, he has become Lord Ram and other incarnations. That's said in the Brahma Samhita. Wherever Lord Rama is, also his servitor Hanuman is, and also Sita. So in that sense, Lord Ram is still present from the absolute sense when Krishna is there. Yeah. So therefore, Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. And above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. Yeah, so let's go on to the next one. So now Arjuna is finally starting to speak. This is a great moment. Senare Ubayur Madhya, he tells, Krishna, please draw my chariot. O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies, so that I may see those present here who desire to fight, and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. It's a very poetic language. What does it mean? Whom I must contend. It means who I will fight with, right? Uh, so one of the thing here is that Krishna is becoming the Partha Sarthi. Partha is another name of Arjuna, and Sarati means the chariot driver. So that's very significant. And if you go to India, you'll see so many places. There's a picture of this scene of Krishna, leading the chariot under Arjuna's command. And this is a very sweet relationship then of Sakya Rasa, or the friendship that Arjuna has with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's mysterious and sweet at the same time, because how God can allow his devotee to command him to drive his chariot. It can only be done because Arjuna is purchased Krishna's heart by his loving devotion. Yeah. So that's also what Prabhupada is saying here in the purport in another way. He says, although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out orders of Arjuna. And since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible, achyuta. That's the Sanskrit word for infallible, That's also one of the names of Krishna. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. That's the point. He is accepting to serve his devotees. Is he no longer the supreme personality of God? No, he's still the supreme personality of God. Right? Let's see, where are we now? Yeah. In all circumstances, he is the supreme personality of God, the Rishikesha, the Lord of the total senses. Yeah. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees, assuming that advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. Now, listen to that. Should we let that sink in for a while? He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees, assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he gives in being the giver of orders. We're already getting a lot of orders from Krishna in the Bhagavad-Gita. He's telling what we should do. So what is this? We just read that he's getting more pleasure in a devotee ordering him. So why is he speaking Bhagavad-Gita? Well, he does that for neophytes, so that they can, level up and become, intimate devotees of him. Then he will like to be ordered by the devotees. Not before. That's the point. So Bhagavad Gita is spoken to the neophytes. It's called the ABC book of the spiritual life. So then Arjuna he accepts now. He goes down from his Sakyaras actually, and he accepts to be a disciple of Krishna. So Prabhupada is writing there also later that when you take the role of a disciple of your guru, then you cannot behave with the guru as a friend. Now is connection, the relationship is now all in reverence. There's a lot of respect now happening. So in that way, you can say for the moment, he left his Sakirasa to become, Krishna's disciple and take instructions. However, after the Gita was spoken, again Arjuna is fighting, and again he's reassuming his friendly dealings with Krishna. Yeah. So in other words, this was just to give us the instruction, us who are neophytes, not on the level of Arjuna. So we need to follow Krishna's orders. That's how we can become devotees. Yeah. So what Prabhupada is writing here is for those who already are intimate devotees of the Lord. So okay, so since he is master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that the pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master in all circumstances. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Yeah, as I mentioned before, the Pandava party tried sometimes to go and negotiate. Krishna also personally came and tried to talk with both Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra, but they declined to make a pact of peace and divide the kingdom equally with the Pandavas. Actually, even at one point, Krishna even said to Dhritarashtra, just give, or he said to Duryodhana, just give them one small village each. That's enough. Still, Duryodhana said, I will not give the Pandavas the size of land that you can fit on a needle even. Krishna was, in the end, just saying, just give them a small village. One village for each Pandava to rule over, right? No, Duryodhana said, I will not even give them the land that you can fit on a small needle. That's how much, reluctant he was to cooperate. And that's why, in the end, war was the only, thing to do to get rid of, the demoniac rulership of Duryodhana. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Arjuna. So therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. So the war was unwanted. So who was demanding the war? Basically, it was the bad party, the Kauravas, who asked for the war because they didn't want to budge an inch. You know, they just wanted the whole kingdom and nothing less than that. And a kshatriya, by nature, a kshatriya needs to rule over something. That's part of the, ego. Where kshatriya, he needs to control something at least, if nothing else, at least in a village. But Duryodhana was not ready to give in a village, and in that way, there was no, chance for any further negotiation. In the end, there had to be war. So now, I, Arjuna is asking Krishna, let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. He simply calls Duryodhana an evil-minded son. Yeah. See, because it is Duryodhana he's speaking about here. Prabhupada says in the purport, it was an open secret that Duryodhana wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans, in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. So just take a look at this name Dhrita, because the Prabhupada is saying usurp the kingdom. What does it mean usurp? It means to take it, right? Something like that. To catch the kingdom. So Dhrita, Rashtra. So it means something like that. I'm sorry, it may not be 100% correct, but it has that meaning. Uh, usurp the land. Yeah, that's what Dhritarashtra means. One of the meanings of the name. So that way, he was the catcher of the land, the one who took the land. Yeah. Therefore, all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhana must have been birds of the same feather. Arjuna wanted to see them on the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were, but he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. He tried that before. That's what Sama means. Sama means also peace or equal. Yeah. Arjuna, yeah. So it was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face, although he was quite confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side. Yeah. So then Sanjaya, who is, recounting the whole story to the blind king Dhritarashtra, he said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. Yeah. And here it's called, here he said, Arjuna, that Sanskrit in the words, he is called Gudakesha. Gudaka means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesha. Sleep also means ignorance, so Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment, because that is the nature of a devotee. Either in waking or in sleep, a devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking of Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Yeah, let's dwell on that for a bit. So we talk about here, the state of if you can think of Krishna in your wake, in your sleep, then you have something called samadhi. Yeah, spiritual trance means perfection in perfection in yoga. Yeah, so it means just not spirit, but it means constant. Yeah, so that's the thing. So Arjuna was actually in samadhi because he was now on the level of sakiras, of friendship with Krishna. It's a very high level. So Prabhupada says, thus a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. This is called Krishna consciousness or samadhi. There he has the word. Yeah. As Rishikesha, or the director of the senses and mind of every living entity, Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus he did so and spoke as follows. Okay, so now we will hear Krishna speak for the first time. This is going to be great. Let's see what Krishna says. In the presence of Bhishma, Drona, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, "Just behold, Partha, all the Kurus assembled here." Yeah. So, Prabhupada, he is explaining here, as the super soul of all living entities, Lord Krishna could understand what was going on in the mind of Arjuna. The use of the word Rishikesha in this connection indicates that he knew everything. And the word Partha, meaning the son of Pritha or Kunti, is also similarly significant in reference to Arjuna. As a friend, he wanted to inform Arjuna that because Arjuna was the son of Pritha, the sister of his own father Vasudeva, he had agreed to be the charioteer of Arjuna. Okay, let's see if we can digest this. Okay, let's see what is read. As the super soul of all living entities, Lord Krishna could understand what. Okay, so he is Paramatma. Okay, he's both outside and inside at the same time. Only God can do this. The use of the word Rishikesh in this connection indicates that he knew everything, and the word Partha, meaning a son of Pritha or Kunt, is also similarly significant in reference to Arjuna. As a friend, he wanted to inform Arjuna that because Arjuna was the son of Pritha, the sister of his own father Vasudeva. So let's see, what does this mean? Okay, first of all, who is Pritha? Yeah, so Pritha, that is Kunti. Yeah. Kunti, the mother of the Pandavas, uh, uh, was a great devotee of Krishna. Yeah. She has a chapter in the Bhagavatam, which is called the Prayers of Queen Kunti. And it was also made a book out of that because Prabhupada also gave some classes on these verses. So Kunti is one of the great female devotees of Krishna, famous. Okay. Now here we also learn that Kunti was the sister of Krishna's father Vasudeva. Yeah, sister of Krishna's. Yeah. So in that way, there is a family relationship. They're in the same family, right? So, so, so now, what did Krishna mean when he told Arjuna to behold the Kurus? I will come to another point here. Did Arjuna want to stop there and not fight? Krishna never expected such things from the son of his own Pritha. The mind of Arjuna was thus predicted by the Lord in friendly joking. What was predicted? I don't understand this. Let's see, can we understand this? So he says, Pasha. So just see. Take a look. Yeah. Uh, Pasha. Eta. Yeah. Yeah. Just see. Just look at them. Yeah. So in other words, he was kind of teasing. He was teasing. Krishna was teasing Arjuna a bit here. Yeah. Because in one sense, Arjuna he's seeing, on that other side, he's seeing, Arjuna is seeing relatives and his own teacher, Drona Charya, such, and he sees relatives such as, Bhishma Deva. Yeah. So he's seeing other relatives also. Yeah. So Krishna was teasing Arjuna a bit here. Uh, would he man up to do the task, or would he chicken away? Yeah. So, what you're going to do. Yeah. Just look at the situation. So in that way, he said that Kshatriyas are sometimes challenging each other to be capable of fighting. A Kshatriya has to be very tough, in other words, and forget, attachments. If it's going to be a fight, it's going to be a fight. That's the heroic duty of the Kshatriya, that once he is in the battle, there is the enemy on the other side. Now these people are enemies, no matter what has happened before. So don't become a Kshatriya fighter. It doesn't sound like very fun, right? But they are doing this for the sake of, no, I'll write that there. Kshatriyas, such as Arjuna, are fighting, abandoning all attachments to relatives, even for the sake of Dharma. And here it means justice. Yeah. Has to do that, otherwise he is not a real hero. Yeah. This is not the meaning of the word Kshatriya. Yeah. So in other words, this is not for everybody. It's said that in the age of Kali, the whole Kshatriya dynasty is died out. So that a Kshatriya actually has to be born a Kshatriya, has to be born in the bloodline. It said, the Kshatriya spirit is actually coming in the blood. In the bloodline. Yeah. Therefore, no Kshat, no, no Kshatriyas left in this age of Kali. Yeah. Because the bloodline has been broken. Yeah. The family lineages, they simply, they stopped. Yeah. So we don't have, the kings, these holy saintly kings, we don't have them. So that way, Varnashram Dharma system is also not working very nicely, because they were the ones who would, support the whole society and make it godly. Yeah. Okay, let's read on here. There Arjuna could see within the midst of the armies of both parties his fathers, grandfathers, teachers, maternal uncles, brothers, sons, grandsons, friends, and also his fathers-in-law and well-wishers. Yeah. So he had a lot of people there on the other side. I just mentioned the two foremost, which was Dronacharya, his teacher, and Bhishmadev, his grandfather. Purport on the battlefield, Arjuna could see all kinds of relatives. He could see persons like Burishrava, who were his father's contemporaries, grandfathers Bhishma and Somadatta, teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya. So since Kripa also has the Acharya connected to his name, it means he also was a great teacher of fighting. Maternal uncles like Shalya and Shakuni, brothers like Duryodhana, sons like Lakshmana. So apparently one of Arjuna's sons ended up on the other side of the army. I don't know how that story went about. And then friends like Ashwatthama, well-wishers like Kritavarma, etc. He could also see the armies which contained many of his friends. Yeah. When the son of Kunti Arjuna saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. So just for your information, on the exam test, you will not be asked to know all these names because they're not really that important. The most important thing in the Bhagavad-Gita is the philosophy. You may be asked to know about the particular names of Krishna, such as Rishikesha. That's a very significant name. Uh, Govinda, I also think is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. But these different names of the fighters, like that, not really that important. Well, of course, everything is important in the Bhagavad Gita, but they will not, end up in the exam. These, names of the fighters, just for your information. We should rather use time to understand philosophy. Yeah. So Arjuna said, yeah. So when the son of Kunti, Arjuna, saw all these different grades of friends and relatives, he became overwhelmed with compassion and spoke thus. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me, in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up." So I probably will explain that these are symptoms when one is not feeling all right. So purport, any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly persons or in the demigods, whereas a non-devotee, however advanced he may be in material qualifications by education and culture, lacks in godly qualities. As such, Arjuna, just after seeing his kinsman, so Prabhupada is taking this from the verse, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvar gunais tatra samasati sura. All the good qualities in the demigods are in the body of a bhakta. Yeah. So as such, Arjuna, just after seeing his kinsmen, friends, and relatives on the battlefield, was at once overwhelmed by compassion for them who had so decided to fight amongst themselves. As far as his soldiers were concerned, he was sympathetic from the beginning, but he felt compassion even for the soldiers of the opposite party, foreseeing their imminent death. And while he was so thinking, the limbs of his body began to quiver, his mouth became dry. He was more or less astonished to see their fighting spirit. Practically the whole community, all blood relatives of Arjuna, had come to fight with him. He is overwhelmed a kind devotee like Arjuna. Although it is not mentioned here, still one can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a true devotee of the Lord. It is said, therefore, in the Sanskrit, we just read that, Harava Bhaktasya Kutu Mahadguna Manuratanasati Davatubai. One has unflinching devotion for the personality of God that has all the good qualities of the demigods, but one who is not a devotee of the Lord has only material qualifications that are of little value. This is because he is hovering on the mental plane and is certain to be attracted by the glaring material energy. So that's a abhakta. The bhakta has the good qualities, but the abhakta, the non-devotee, there is no mahat gunas. There is no great qualities there. Why? Because manuratena, because the chariot of the mind is going to the asat, to temporary stuff, by also external, temporary and external. So that's not a good business for getting good qualities. Yeah. But Arjuna had the good qualities. That's why he became compassionate and he felt sorry for engaging in this war. So he says, my whole body is trembling, my hair is standing on end, my bow Gandiva is slipping from my hand, my skin is burning. Yeah. There are two, so Prabhupada says there are two kinds of trembling of the body and two kinds of standings on the hair of end. Two kinds of standings of the hair on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of great fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Just as we spoke, Srila Prabhupada's name is Abhay, which means fearless. A devotee is supposed to be fearless. However, Prabhupada is saying here, Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely loss of life. Didn't we just hear that Arjuna was pure devotee? Well, the thing here is that Arjuna is playing the part of a material attached person, actually. This is happening by the effect of Yoga Maya. So actually here, apparently Arjuna is now having a material fear. So Prabhupada says this is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow Gandiva was slipping from his hands. And because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation on the skin. All these are due to a material conception of life. So now, apparently, Arjuna is overtaken by, the illusory energy, Maya Shakti. However, this is actually the Yoga Maya Shakti which is working just to make this pastime. And the reason for this is explained by Acharyas is because Arjuna is already in the Sakya Rasa. He already has a friendly connection with Krishna. That's why the reconciliation is that he cannot actually be in the material illusion per se. He is in the Yoga Maya created illusion, which is acting out a scene which seems to be like a material illusion. So anyway, so for us who are material conditioned, is definitely relevant. The way Arjuna is reacting, that's the same way we would react, you can say, when we would get into trouble from the material side. However, the Uttama Bhaktas, they would only react like this in direct connection with Krishna. For example, he said that mother and father of Krishna, Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj in Vrindavan, when Krishna was dancing on the hoods of Kalia, the serpent, I'll not get into explaining the whole story, but at one point the Kalia serpent was actually trying to squeeze Krishna with its coils. It was a great serpent. He was, binding up Krishna, trying to choke him. At that time, it's explained that the mother and father of Krishna, they became really scared and really almost fainted out of fear of their son Krishna. I mean, not out of fear of Krishna, but fear for Krishna, that Krishna might be killed, that Krishna was in danger. So this is all, arranged by Yoga Maya potency, which is the spiritual side of the Maya potency. Yeah. So Arjuna says, I'm now unable to stand here any longer. I'm forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. It's the only cause of misfortune, O Krishna, killer of the Kesha demon. So Prabhupada says, due to his impatience, Arjuna was unable to stay on the battlefield and even was forgetting himself on account of this weakness of his mind. Excessive attachment for material things puts a man in such bewildering condition of existence. Vayam nivitim ya viniveshata shyat. Such fearfulness and loss of mental equilibrium takes place in persons who are too affected by material conditions. Arjuna envisioned only painful reverses in the battlefield. He would not be happy even by gaining victory over the foe. Words nimitani, viparitani are significant. When a man sees only frustration in his expectations, he thinks, why am I here? Yeah, so nimitani, viparitani, it means, nimitani means something like symptoms or causes. Viparitani means, opposites. So he sees, that things are going the wrong way. He sees symptoms that things are really, going bad here. Yeah. So when a man sees only frustration in his expectations, he thinks, why am I here? So when life goes tough, we don't really like to be here. That's obvious. Everyone is interested in himself and his own welfare. No one is interested in the Supreme Self. Arjuna is showing ignorance of his real self-interest by Krishna's will. One's real self-interest lies in Vishnu or Krishna. The conditioned soul forgets this and therefore suffers material pains. Arjuna thought that his victory in the battle would only be a cause of lamentation for him. Yeah, so even if he would win, he would be unhappy. So if you feel like that for something, then of course we're depressed. Yeah. He says, I don't see how any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. So, Arjuna becomes disheartened. So this episode where Arjuna is lamenting, complaining, crying, it's called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It's the part of the book where Arjuna is lamenting. And this is, a story for all of us that we can recognize when we are in the same situation, because all of us, we are sometimes, or we have been, hopefully not happen again since we are taken to Krishna consciousness. Now, we are always happy chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But without, being immersed in chanting Hare Krishna, we may become, immersed in the sorrows of the world, in the difficulties of the world. In that way, we may see no hope in nothing. So Prabhupada is saying that also, without knowing that one's self-interest is in Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attracted by bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. So I think Prabhupada is kind of referring to this verse, Atevedu Svarta Katim Vishnu Durashaya by Artamanina Andai Atandai Upaniyamanas. Because when we don't know that the goal is Vishnu, we are just like blind people following another blind man down in the ditch. So Prabhupada says, in such a blind conception of life, they forget even the cause of material happiness, even the causes of material happiness. Yeah, so that means that we may even go down, even from the level of passion down to the mode of ignorance, because it said in the mode of ignorance, one doesn't even know how to make oneself happily on the material plane. So one is not eating well, not sleeping well, not dealing with other people well. Everything is just hellish. At least in passion, one is able to give oneself some sense gratification and be progressive on the material plane. However, in ignorance, it's all just destruction. Yeah. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for a kshatriya. It is said that two kinds of men, namely a kshatriya who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and the person in a renounced order of life who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture, are eligible to enter into the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. So now we're hearing about the sun globe. Why is that? We have to digest this. Sorry, I'm not so sharp as you guys. I need to digest, what I have been reading here. Otherwise, I cannot continue. So what did Prabhupada says here? Okay, so the first part we already looked on. Uh, this sentence. It is said that two kinds of men, namely Rikshatra, who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders. So that's okay. He will go to Krishna, that's obvious. And the person in the renounced order of life who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture are eligible to enter into the sun globe. But then isn't the whole Bhagavad-Gita about entering back to Krishna's planet? Why are we talking about the sun globe? Um, it's said that actually in the scripture it's said for kshatriyas, they are blessed by, somebody has a very strong and stout body, they're blessed by the sun god actually. That's exemplified in Karna. He was directly the son of the sun god. He was also one of the most powerful fighters ever seen in the world. So what it means is that minimum a kshatriya who dies on the battlefield, fighting for the good cause, even minimum come to the sun planet. However, of course, for the pure devotee, he will go straight back to Krishna's loka. That's obvious. So Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thinks that by killing his kinsmen, there will be no happiness in his life, and therefore he is not willing to fight, just as a person who does not feel hunger is not inclined to cook. He has now decided to go into the forest and live a secluded life in frustration, but as a kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his substance. Is that the right way to say it? Subsistence, because the kshatriyas cannot engage themselves in any other occupation. Yeah, so that's why what I also told that previously Krishna he was offering to Duryodhana that please, I know you will not give the kingdom, you will not even share half of the kingdom with the Pandavas. They can at least just give them a small village each, so that they can exercise their kshatriya less. But no, Duryodhana said, I will not give them the land that you can fit even on a needle. Yeah. So Prabhupada said, as a kshatriya he requires a kingdom for his subsistence. A kshatriya needs to rule something. That's why, also in the Krishna consciousness movement, whoever joins, Hare Krishna movement, if they are very much like a leader type, those are already leaders. You should just ignore that. I mean, if they're wise, they're wise to try and give something for these people to lead because they have, the leadership qualities. That's obvious. Just like somebody is coming who's good cook, uh, please just show them, the way to the kitchen. If anybody comes to Hare Krishna movement and is happy cooking and knows how to cook, please, the leader should, engage them then in the kitchen. Somebody likes to paint, engage them in painting, pictures for Krishna, like that. Yeah. So, but Arjuna had no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lies in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Yeah, so that's the point. Therefore, he considers himself fit to go to the forest to live a secluded life of frustration. Yeah. So when we cannot do what we are supposed to do, we we become frustrated. Yeah, that's one message we get from this. And also, Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining, so reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father. So what was that kingdom? So who is his father? Pandu, Arjuna's father, was the king of the whole world. Okay? He was the king of the whole world. Uh, but he died because of a curse. Yeah. Thus, the brother of Pandu, Dhritarashtra, took over the kingdom, but Dhritarashtra himself, he was blind, so he couldn't, lead. So he couldn't lead. So he gave the charge to his sons. Yeah. However, this was incorrect because the sons of Pandu were the natural inheritance of the kingdom, being direct sons of the king, right? For the yeah. So in that way, Dhritarashtra and company thus went against Dharma. Yeah, Dharma, law and justice. Yeah. So I hope that is very clear now. But then, the problem here is that, Arjuna knew all this, you know, but still he couldn't fight them because he was materially attached to them. Yeah. So that was a problem. Yeah. So let's see what the next verse says. Oh Govinda. So now he's starting to complain. Yeah, we are in the Arjuna Vishala Yoga. He's complaining now. O Govinda, of what avail to us our kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I'm not prepared to fight with them even in exchange for 3 worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? He's now looking, he's complaining because he will not be happy by doing this, you can say. So in these verses, actually Arjuna is in the wrong. But as we already explained, he's playing that role for our understanding, showing that he was in the wrong for a long time. But then, of course, later he will listen, to Krishna, and he will, start following Krishna. In that way, he will be back on track again. Yeah. So Prabhupada says here, Arjuna has addressed Lord Krishna as Govinda because Krishna is the object of all pleasures for cows and the senses. By using that significant word, Arjuna indicates that Krishna should understand what will satisfy Arjuna's senses. But Govinda is not meant for satisfying our senses. If you try to satisfy the senses of Govinda, however, then automatically our senses are satisfied. Yeah. So you wonder why the restaurants or the hotels are often called Govinda. Yeah. There is a place you can go to get your senses satisfied. Um, well, you can say usually restaurants. This is like it's a business of devotees. They can work with this instead of working for somebody else. They offer the food to Krishna and they distribute the food. That way they can spread goodness in the society. And of course it's vegetarian also. So in that way it gives it shows a nice example for others to follow. However, when Arjuna called Krishna Govinda, this was this is not the time to eat in the restaurant. It was completely opposite. He was now supposed to fight. Wars are always gruesome, right? It's violence. So Govinda here is rasabasa. Rasabasa means it doesn't fit in. Yeah, it doesn't fit in. I can write that here. Arjuna's calling Krishna Govinda here doesn't fit in. Yeah, we are in a war. We are in a war. There's no Govinda here now. It's going to be a war. Okay, so he indicates that he got weak. Yeah. So yeah. So Prabhupada goes on to talk about that materially everyone wants to satisfy his senses, and he wants God to be the order supplier for such satisfaction. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve, but not to the extent that they may covet. Yeah, I read that sentence 1,000 times probably in my life. I just now want to look at it again because it's a good sentence. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve. So it says, Nitya Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Ekabhavanam Yuvidatati Kamam. The Lord, since time immemorial, has satisfied our desires. However, only according to karma we can get our senses satisfied in the material world. To the degree we have been pious and nice, to that degree we can enjoy our senses. So that always the question is why some bad person is enjoying so much sense gratification. Well, he must have done something good in the past. But of course now he is a bad person. It is just a matter of time before all this enjoyment is gone, and he will suffer because of being a bad person. Don't worry, the universal law is working, and it is, you know, uh, it is just. So you can say the material laws may not work in a country, but the universal laws are always working. However, the effect may come after some time. That's the point. Uh, so he says, not to the extent that they may covet. What does covet? It said that one of the bad things you should avoid is covetousness. Covetousness means greed. Yeah, to want to have something that somebody else have, for example, is called greed. So, to the extent that we are greedy, the Lord may not help us. After all, the Lord is also called Hari. He doesn't, pamper his devotees. If you want to be pampered, you can say you can go to Lord Shiva or another, god, which are smaller gods, in comparison to Krishna or Vishnu. But for Vishnu, he may rather take away than giving us whatever we want. He gives us what we need. Yeah, I'll write that. Vishnu or Krishna are called Hari, which means they rather take away what we have than giving us something that will obstruct our bhakti path. Yeah. Okay. So Prabhupada says, but when one takes the opposite way, namely when one tries to satisfy the senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, then by the grace of Govinda, all desires of a living entity are satisfied. Arjuna's deep affection for community and family members is exhibited here partly due to his natural compassion for them. He is therefore not prepared to fight. Everyone wants to show his opulence to friends and relatives. Arjuna fears that all his relatives and friends will be killed on the battlefield, and he will be unable to share his opulence after victory. This is a typical calculation of material life. Transcendental life, however, is different. Yeah. So what is the situation in the transcendental life? Since the devotee wants to satisfy the desires of the Lord, he can, Lord willing, accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord. And if the Lord is not willing, he should not accept a farthing. So you may be a rich or poor person, still you would like to just serve Krishna and have the same mindset no matter what's happening. Svarga apavarga narakeju apitulyarta darshana. So the Shuddha Bhaktas, they are having the same mindset, Tulya Darshana, they see everything equal, even if they are in the heavenly planets, enjoying, great sense happiness. Apavarga, being in the middle, that means on the earth planet, or Narakesha, suffering hellish punishment even, they will still be the same. That's a very high platform. That's the platform of the real devotee, because it simply is not the interest of the devotee to enjoy on his own account. He's just after pleasing Krishna. Yeah. So Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives, and if there were any need to kill them, he decided that Krishna kill them personally. At this point, he did not know that Krishna had already killed them before their coming into the battlefield, and that he was only to become an instrument for Krishna. This fact is disclosed in following chapters. Yeah. As a natural devotee of the Lord, Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers, but it was the Lord's plan that they should all be killed. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. Did I read that correctly? The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer. The devotee of the Lord, okay. Yeah. So if a devotee is, being done wrong to by a person, the devotee may not, try and defend himself. Actually, this means, well, he may defend himself, but retaliate means he may not attack the wrongdoer back. If somebody says something nasty to me, I may take it as, deserved. And I will not come with a similar accusation to the one person who says that. I will just not say nothing. At least I will not retaliate. Retaliation is not advised for Shuddha Bhakti. To get pure devotion to the Lord, one may be able to tolerate a lot. For the heart to become pure, one needs to be tolerant. This is very, very important. Like my Guru Maharaj said, he said that the criticism we receive is the medicine to cure our disease. So If you think about it as medicine to cure our disease, then it may not be so bad actually. However, the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. So if the devotee is actually innocent, then yeah, the Lord can excuse the person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. So then the Lord, he may enter the situation and protect his devotee and attack the culprit. If his devotee is attacked, the Lord may come and protect the devotee and attack the attacker. Yeah, just as in the case with Prahlad Maharaj and Rishingadev and Hiranyakashipu. So Prahlad Maharaj, he had a father, and the father attacked him because the father was a demon. And Prahlad Maharaj was a devotee, so Vishnu incarnated as Nrsingadev to protect him, and he actually killed Hiranyakashipu. Yeah, so that's also what Prabhupada says here. Therefore, the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. Yeah, so they had done harm because before this battle was decided, then we had just the pastime of he said the bad story of them trying to disrobe Draupadi. We talked about that also yesterday. We'll not recount the whole story, but they offended the wife of the Pandavas. The Kauravas, headed by Duryodhana, offended the wife of the Pandavas. In that way, they deserve to be punished for that. So that's one of the great reasons actually why we have this battlefield of the Kurukshetra, is because of the great offense to the saintly woman Draupadi, who was a pure devotee of Krishna. Yeah. Okay, so next verse. Arjuna is saying, sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain? O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune, and how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen? Yeah. And then Prabhupada says in the purport, there are 6 kind of aggressors. 1, a poison giver. 2, one who sets fire to the house. 3, one who attacks with deadly weapons. 1 who plunders riches. 1 who occupies another's land, and 1 who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting an ordinary man, but Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was saintly by character. So just for our information, these were, the rules back in the day. They may not, apply in our country, right? Nobody is killed for doing these things, right? We have something called jail, right? People are put into the jail here, not killed. We don't have, the death punishment here in our country. However, back in the day, there were, such. And again, still, those who would do that, they were kshatriyas. Couldn't be, somebody in the lower ranks. Also, a brahmana was not supposed to ever do any violence to nobody. So this was solely for the kshatriyas to do such, killing. Yeah. So Prabhupada says such killing of aggressors. Yeah. Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was not supposed to do that. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. But Arjuna was, actually, he had the license, you can say, to kill. But here he didn't want to do it because he has this saintly character. But this kind of saintliness, however, is not for Kshatriya. Again, we're back to what is actually Arjuna's duty. If Arjuna was a Brahmana, this would be completely fine. Yeah. So, Hare Krishna, yeah. Although a responsible man in the administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Ram was so saintly that people even now are anxious to live in the kingdom of Lord Ram, the Rama Raja. But Lord Ram never showed any cowardice. Ravana was an aggressor against Rama because Ravana kidnapped Rama's wife Sita, but Lord Ram gave him sufficient lessons and paralleled the history of the world. Yeah. So that story is that Lord Ram, he's coming to Ravana's kingdom, Lanka, and by good help of his monkey army headed by Hanuman, Sita is rescued from Lanka, and finally Lord Rama is killing Ravana by shooting him in the heart. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider a special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna taught that he should not take the severe steps necessary yeah, against ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Yeah. Arjuna considered that rather than kill his own kinsman for political reasons, it would be better to forgive him on grounds of religion and saintly behavior. Yeah. So this thing to avoid to follow, you can say the regular rules. It's called apat dharma. So some or other, Arjuna wanted that let's make an exception here because of all these great people on the other side. However, Krishna didn't agree to that. Yeah. As Prabhupada says here, that Arjuna, he did not therefore consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. So Prabhupada is saying that Arjuna, he was just here, into the material concept, and that's why his idea was not, and it was just actually on a lower material concept. It was not really the concept of Kshatriya that Arjuna is speaking here. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life in eternal salvation by killing his own kinsman? Arjuna's addressing of Krishna as Madhava, or the husband of the goddess of fortune, is also significant in this connection. He wanted to point out to Krishna that, as the husband of the goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees. Yeah, so that's the point. Arjuna seems to have lost his Shraddha here. Um, he should rather have, trust that fighting for Krishna will give, the fortune. But here he is considering that fighting for Krishna will give, misfortune. So that is called weak-heartedness. And Bhagavad-Gita is supposed to help us now to get rid of this weak-heartedness, so that we may, become what you can term strong devotees. Yeah, inspired devotees. Uh, Knowledge is also one part of that. It's said that when one becomes, a Shuddha Bhakta, a purified devotee, this is manifested as a specific kind of knowledge in the heart. Transcendental knowledge is manifested in the heart, given by Krishna. However, usually it is required that we do the act of Sharanagati or surrender in order for Krishna to grant this divine knowledge in the heart. So the onus is on us who tries to be devotees. Do we trust Krishna or do we not? So let's discuss further tomorrow. Thank you so much. Tomorrow we'll continue with text 37 and 38 of the first chapter. Hare Krishna.